So we're here in the office of Principal Smith Castillo, who is also an ordained pastor of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He is the leader here. Pastor Smith, thank you for taking time to be here with us, the West Houston family. Just a few questions for you as you lead this wonderful school. What would you say to that parent who may be struggling to make the decision, the sacrifice, to send their child to be educated for eternity here?
Well, I appreciate you guys being here this morning. Some parents may have questions and they may struggle with the idea, what benefit is there for their child to come to school here and attend the school? The number one thing I would say is pray about it. Some parents come in and they have asked, what should I do? I said, well, number one, have you prayed about it? And I had a parent once tell me, well, it's not fair to pray because God is going to tell me yes right away. I'm like, no, that's not accurate. Because God sometimes, it may be that we're not the fit for your child here. But pray about it. Seriously pray about it. Ask God whether or not our educational system here is a fit for your child, for your child's schooling and education. We may not be a fit. Pray about it. God knows best. With that said, the other reason why your child should come to school here is because we have a Christ-like environment here. Are we perfect? No. Do we have some issues with kids? Yes, but it's very minimal. It's very minimal in comparison to other places and other schools. I strongly believe that our teachers are great. Our curriculum is very strong. Academics are strong. Your youth pastor, J. Reeves, is a graduate from here, so the fact that he finished college, I'm very excited. It means that foundation he had here was a solid and strong one. And people have a misconception of what we are and who we are as a school. If you don't know what the curriculum is like, come and ask. People typically they lean on information that is false or erroneous or the past. A lot of people stay stuck on their past experiences. Yes, our education system has not always been at its par as it should be, but things have changed. Our teachers are highly trained and highly qualified. They are college graduates. The majority have master's degrees. Most of our teachers have to be certified by the North American Division in order to teach. So a random person cannot just walk off the street and come teach. That's not accurate. Even myself, many people may have the question, well, how did he transition from being a pastor to being a principal? Well, I have to go to school. I have a master's now in education, and I'm pursuing a PhD in education. So there's schooling involved. You just don't come in and just, here I am, and I do it. Those small things like that. The advantage that we have here as well is our classroom sizes. Your child would not get lost in the crowd. The teachers pay attention to the student. We know the students by name. I can name all of our 160 students we had this year. I can name them by name because we're a lot smaller. Any student can come in here and talk to me at any time, from the student in pre-K to the high school senior. So, those are some of the benefits that most students don't have that experience in some other schools where they don't have a direct access to the teacher at all time. Something else that I want to add, our program is growing. We're looking to add in this year a dual language component that we're going to make our final decision this week from pre-K through 6th grade. And with high school, we're excited to announce that we're starting a dual credit program through Southwestern Adventist University. So we're going to have dual credit in human biology for non-science, music theory, life and teaching of Jesus, general psychology. So those are the classes we're doing dual credit. And we're also adding a Spanish 3 CLEP test, which meaning our juniors or seniors can join that class and they'll take the course, and right before they finish the year, they'll take a CLEP test that can grant them up to 12 credit hours in college.
Wow. And
we're also doing that in math with college algebra. So we're adding programs that are going to give our students an advantage. So when my personal goal here is when our seniors graduate here, that they have an opportunity to have at least 18 credit hours already for college moving forward.
Wow.
So
Amen,
just some of the things that
amen.
we're doing in here.
That's so cool. And yes, I am a former graduate of Houston Adventist Academy, so I'm proud to be here. And I would like to ask you, for those parents or students wondering about what do you have to offer beyond school extracurricular activities. So let's say I like sports. What kind of things do you guys offer here at the Houston Adventist Academy?
Well, the great thing is we like sports. I'm a sport guy, as you guys know. We have volleyball for girls, high school volleyball. We compete in a league against other private schools in our area. The great thing about what we do is that the league that we play in, they allow us to respect our Sabbath. We don't have to play on Friday past a certain time. We don't have to play on Saturday. And if we have a championship game or tournament, as you know that we have forfeited in the past,
Yep.
you know, we forfeit because we uphold our belief that the Sabbath is a day of rest. But this league is awesome because it lets us play from Sunday through Thursday and for us to play. So we have girls volleyball, girls basketball, and guys basketball. And we compete in tournaments. We go to Southwestern for Hoop Fest, and we're there in January for a week. This year, God willing, if we can still continue to do sports and travel, we're planning to go to Union for their basketball tournament as well.
Nice.
And this year, for the first time, we're adding soccer.
Nice.
We're gonna, try to develop our soccer program. So we have everything in place, and God willing, we'll roll out soccer this year.
That sounds really cool. It sounds really like a lot of students can get behind that. Spiritually, because that's one of the big benefits here is spiritually. What do you see here that Houston Adventist Academy can offer parents and students spiritually at this school?
Well, number one, the exciting thing is that we are a continuation of what you're teaching your child at home and what they're learning at church when it comes down to Christ and the Bible and the importance of Christ in our lives. From kindergarten, from pre-K to the 12th grade, they have a Bible class, a daily Bible class. So they're always learning about God, and it's it's a main priority. Our teachers pray with them. They can pray with each other. They do a bunch of different things. Outside of those, we have weekly chapel. We have a campus life ministry here that's led by our students that they put together our spiritual activities. We go on mission trips. We go and do outreach. Our students are front and center leading out in the spiritual atmosphere here at the school. I mean, it's interesting. I think I spoke this year for chapel maybe twice in the whole year.
Man.
Our students were the ones that were having the talks.
Yeah.
And they're wanting to preach and they're wanting to talk. And
amazing.
it's amazing, We give them the comfort here inside of our bubble here at the school where people won't judge them or criticize them for what they say or how they express themselves. So they grow in that area. So that's a huge blessing. They can practice their faith in here without fear of being look different or being judged or being bullied for their beliefs. So
That's amazing.
that's good for atmosphere.
For more information, where would our parents go to in terms of the World Wide Web?
You can go to houaa.org. That's our website. It's houaa.org. You can also drive by here to school. We're in 11735 Grant Road in Cypress. Or you can call us here at the school. Our number is 832-701-3675.
Pastor, unfortunately, my experience growing up with Adventist education was not a good one for some of the choices that my father made. For a long time, whether it was the pastor or friends who had their children in an Adventist school, would try to persuade my father about the investment and the importance of it. Really, it was an investment in eternity. But he never really made that decision. He didn't feel it was important. He didn't feel like it was a priority. So why do you care so much?
That's a great question. I think it's the first time I've ever been asked, why do I care? Typically people don't care why I care. People just the answer is either black or white. I care for a few reasons. Number one, I went to Adventist school in New York City, in the Bronx, from kindergarten through about 7th grade. And the reason why I didn't finish the Adventist school was because my dad was murdered when I was 12. And I recall that when my mom and I went to speak to the school and the principal, because my dad was the only one that made money. You know, my mom was a homemaker, raising 4 kids. She couldn't work. And the principal told her, well, you know what? We all have problems, then just send them to public school. Literally, that's what he said. And, you know, when I got to public school that following year, I thought, well, I finished 8th grade and then I went to high school, 9th grade. I thought that I didn't have to learn anything. And I got involved with the wrong crowd, and I cut school the whole year. My freshman year, cut school completely the whole year. And my mom never once knew, because we were so many, you know, and the schools didn't care. If you didn't show up, they just marked you absent, and that's it. So after I got my act together, after riding in the back seat of the NYPD cars a few times, you know, they took me back to school. I remember my mom finally found out, and I got in trouble, and I had to push myself, because now here I was supposed to be in the 10th grade, and I'm behind a whole year. So I embarked. I flipped a switch, and I did high school. 4 years I did it in 3 years. I finished it in 3 years, and that's when I knew that my foundation from the Adventist school, I had a strong foundation because I didn't struggle with classes. You know, I wasn't an A and B student because I didn't want to. It was because I wasn't capable. Because, you know, when we were growing up, if you were a smart kid or had a 4.0, you would seem weak, you know, and I wanted to be, you know, strong and blah, blah, and, you know, play sports, so that wasn't too popular, but I never struggled. So, you know, that's part of the reason I cared. And then when I became a pastor and I started pastoring at Spring Ranch Church, I had a real hard time with the youth there. I couldn't connect because the previous youth pastor had done such an amazing job with them in different areas that they had totally rejected me. And I remember when I was asked to come and be involved here at the school, the only opportunity that I had outside of me doing chapel once in a while was coaching the basketball team. Mr. Friesen used to be the basketball coach, and he used to sub them. Remember, if you were on the team, sub you guys as if we were playing hockey. And, you know, 5 in and 5 out. I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, well, you want to coach? So he coached. At that time, I had about 5 or 4 kids that were from Spring Branch, and I quickly realized that I was connecting more with them, coaching them basketball, than I did at the church. So before any practice, we would spend a good chunk of the time studying the Bible. JF is my witness. We would just sit there and read. Some of the kids would get annoyed. Why are we doing this? It's not going to help us win and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? As long as I coach, we either tied first place in our division here in our district, and we went to the playoffs. So we always won. You know, I didn't know how, but we won. You know, and they learned the lesson, and I said, you know what? When you put God first, He really comes through. You know, that's why I care, because I saw that I was able to reach my youth here better than I did at the church. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I was here with them, teaching Bible class and coaching basketball every day of the week. You know, and then, you know, you can see the transformation, the impact that you have on the kids. So I care because I've realized that over here I have a better shot at winning them from Christ than seeing them once a week at church. And that's including Pathfinders, and that's including AY. You know, I have them here for almost 40 hours a week. Over there, you're lucky if you get them an hour or two, if you have all their attention. Yeah. You know, over here you have the whole attention because they have to, because you're earning a grade. So they learn about Christ, and it's more personalized and it's deeper. So that's why I care. Adventist Education changed my life. You know, I know your testimony because, you know, we're friends, and I think that what kept me away from going completely off the deep end was those early years of being in an Adventist school. Because I can tell you something, every time I had a temptation that I was going to go after, you know, joining a gang or joining a drug lord in my local streets, or one of my cousins, they were drug lords too, up in New York City, I would always, this song would ring in my ear, Lord, I surrender all. Always. It didn't used to fail. And sometimes I fell into the temptation, like we all did. But for the most part, the major mistakes that I avoided in my life, I attributed to being in the Adventist school. You know, I never got into drugs. I never got into alcohol. I was around it, but I never consumed it or joined it, you know, to this day. So that foundation, I believe, literally saved my spiritual life into where I'm at today, you know. And that's why I care, because I am a product, and I still see the benefits of interacting with the kids here one-on-one. You know, because we have a unique opportunity that you don't have any other place. Parents, you do not realize. I have more influence in your kids than you do because I spend more time with them here than you do. It's a fact of reality. Wherever your students spend the most amount of time at, that's who has a greater influence. I don't care what kind of education you think you have at home or structure, they're going to be influenced by people who spend the most time with them. That is just psychological facts. Go read it. You know, I'm not making anything up. So that's why I care, and you know, and I love this setting. You know, we can talk about any topic in the world here in a safe setting. You know, I've dealt with kids who struggle with addictions, kids who struggle with homosexuality, kids who struggle with their self-worth, kids who are suicidal, you know, kids who have issues with their parents. They come into this office and we talk about it, we pray about it, you know, we give them guidance. Because not only did I go through it myself, you know, we have the Word of God that helps us lead kids through. So I don't know what you want to interject with your perspective, because you have a unique perspective. Because you were a student specifically here at this school.
Yeah.
And now you went off to college, now you come back as a pastor.
Yeah.
So what dynamic can you share in this conversation?
I think one of the biggest things for me that I take away from my time at Houston Adventist Academy, formerly known as The Oaks, is the relationships. I think that's something that has lasted me past any of the things that I learned, past any of the things that I did, is like this right here. Like, I see you and we can connect and we can talk about old times because we met here and it was such a positive experience. You're talking about the scriptures. I remember we went to basketball tournament and you had us read the book of Joel before we came to tournament, and we sat in a circle and we talked about it. That's the first time I ever read the book of Joel. And I read it and you asked us, hey, well, how did God speak to you? And then the spiritual conversations we would have while staying over a tournament, the questions that I could ask. I'd say just, the relationships that I formed with teachers that were mentoring, teachers that encouraged me about my own self-worth, teachers that said, hey, you have this potential, I see this greatness in you. And so that was a positive. And then I think the opportunity to lead here at this school was a big help for me. My junior year, from my junior year and senior year, I served as the student body pastor, you know, and I did that. And you'd say, oh, what did you get to really do as student body pastor? It was just a position. But I preached almost every week for chapel. I had to schedule the chapel speakers with our chaplain, or the guy that was working as chaplain here. I got to talk with students. You're talking about, you as a principal get to deal with students, but I had my fellow students come up to me and talk about things. And I remember one of my friends came up and said, man, I feel like I've committed the unpardonable sin because I did drugs this weekend and I start feeling bad. And we had a conversation about that. And that was a blessing for me to be able to minister to people that were my age, that were my fellow students. And I remember walking these halls and praying and feeling encouraged to do that, and having teachers encourage me to do that. And so my perspective is just that the relationships here can help change your life. I've seen kids come in here one way and they had an attitude or a way that they thought, and they left here differently. I've had known people here that came here that weren't Adventist. They came in here and had an experience with Adventists, and some gave their life to the Lord and became Adventists, and some just have a great experience with Adventists. Now they're like, oh, Adventist? Yeah, I went to that school and I loved it. I made great friends. There's people to this day that I still keep in touch with, and so those relationships really have connected with me, and the principles that my teachers and friends and pastors and people that poured into my life here that they gave. And so coming back as a pastor, my desire is to give that back to some students. Like, I want to have that student that comes and sits down in my classroom and says, hey, Pastor Jafia, Pastor Reeves, like, I'm struggling with this. Or seeing kids that are at odds with each other and being able to bring them together and share God's word and light into somebody's life. Because what you said about the pastors being involved, when we saw our pastors here at the school, it made more of a difference than just seeing them at church, because at church we knew they had to be there. I mean, that's where you work, that's where you're based. But when I see you, my pastor, in these halls, it's a moment of pride. It's a moment of like, that's my pastor, and it impacts you. So I want that. You know, it's funny, that's a great point you just brought up, and I haven't seen it that way. Us pastors, we have to be at church. Coming here, you want to be here. Yeah. Because you have to put in sometimes even extra time and overtime. Yeah. And people don't know that. People don't see that we do it out of our own time. I did it for a long time.
and now, you know, God willing, you'll be here too, as we agreed on. Let me ask you something, Pastor Solomon, because I want to throw the question to you, because you don't have experience with this at all, and you've never been to an Adventist school. Why do you care? You know, especially you being a parent now of a lovely, incredible young lady that you're raising. Why do you care? Honestly, because I know you care, and we've talked about it a lot. And your experience is different from ours, because you didn't have the experience. Why do you care?
Yeah, I think the passion for Adventist education, obviously if you're an Adventist minister, you have gone to an Adventist school for college, but not necessarily elementary or high school. But I think just a burden to help parents see the importance of what education brings in the context of Adventism and Christian education. I think it's very important because, as you stated, there's a lot of times where we lose our focus as parents because of the lack of time that we have with our children. So Adventist education reinforces the little time that you have with your kids and kind of fills in the cracks of where you may not be doing your very best in terms of being able to have time to sit down with your kids and teach them who Jesus is. So I think it's part of a package plan that God wants for our children, and that's why there's so much passion in Adventist education. Yeah.
That's awesome. Appreciate it.
And we thank you so much for tuning in with us. Again, here at Houston Adventist Academy, the kids are one by one, and that one is Jesus.